Hello, this is Jeff from Studio 41 Gaming. Remember when I said my last Smite video was going to be probably my last one for about 4 months? Well, it turns out I forgot there's one other god that I truly loved, and that is Fenrir. I'm going to be talking about him for this arena guide video. So let's take a look at his god builder. Okay, so Fenrir, as we may know, is an assassin, so you're going to probably see a couple familiar items here. So first you're going to want to start out with Warrior Tabi, just normal stuff here, nothing special. You want to get Jotunn's Wrath, which is physical power, mana, penetration, cooldown reduction, all that fun stuff. And then you want to go Titan's Bane third here. I've seen some builds that have it later, but trust me when I say this is a very nice item to get early, and it gives Fenrir a very nice early advantage in most arena matchups. Then you're going to want Height of the Urchin. Yes, Height of the Urchin. Very much yes, Height of the Urchin. Yes, I know it's typically a defense tank item, but believe me when I say you want this item because Fenrir, while being an assassin, is also a melee assassin. And unlike other well-known melee assassins, Fenrir is not very adept to getting away very quickly. Let's just say that. I'm going to go into it in gruesome detail later in the gameplay section, but trust me, Height of the Urchin is very nice for Fenrir. It gives you a ton of protection, and just trust me, I'll go into more detail in it in a few seconds here in the gameplay part. Next, you're going to want Rage, physical power, critical strike chance, basically just for a lot of crits and whatnot. And then Deathrbinger, physical power, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage, as we all know. And then for your relics, you're going to want Purification, which you basically should always have. And then I have Curse, because it's very nice for getting away, and you can also run down some enemies quickly with it. Alright, so ability-wise, Fenrir, his passive buff is Unbound Runes. So every 5 basic attacks, he'll max out those runes, and basically it'll just give his abilities a little bit more power and secondary effect for the most part. But for his first ability, you have Unchained, which is a leap forward that damages all enemies. And then when he has all 5 runes filled up and he uses it, he stuns for a second. And that's really nice, so definitely keep that. If you're going to use those runes, you're going to want to engage with Unchained about 90% of the time. And if the leap hits a god, the cooldown is halved, so it can give you a decent chance to escape if you have to. And then next is a buff, which is Seething Howl, and he buffs himself and his allies, and when it's at full runes, it's increased by 50%. The only thing I have about that is I'm not sure if that increase by 50% is actually for the physical power and lifesteal, or if it makes it last longer. I think it's for the power and lifesteal, but it's one thing I've tried to pay attention to, but it's kind of vague. So, and then perhaps his most well-known ability, Brutalize. It hits 4 times in a row, and then basically he just locks in to that person you use it on and hits him 4 times in a row, chasing him after him. It's probably his best killing attack, and the full runes though kind of suck for it. I mean, it just does damage to enemies that are nearby. It doesn't really help a whole lot. I mean, if you're going on one person, you're only going for that person, so it's just kind of whack. I definitely like using Seething Howl with it though, because that life steal will proc for the Brutalize also. And then, perhaps the most annoying ultimate in the game, Ragnarok. He grows massive in size, and then he bites an enemy and then picks them up, does damage and pulls them away. Uh, if it's one of the most troll ultimates I think in this game, but it's also really awesome because you grow into a giant wolf. Well, I guess you just technically grow bigger, but it does a good chunk of damage. You carry people for about 2 seconds, and trust me, it's very fun to pull enemies into your base. This is one of the best ultimates I think in Smite. And overall, I like the normal God Builder. It just basically focuses Brutalize and Seething Howl and waits on Unchained, which I feel is probably the right way to go because Unchained is definitely one of your weaker abilities. So I guess if you wanted to build Unchained up, you could definitely do that, but you'd have to leave out. You probably want to leave out Seething Howl if you did that. But overall, I like the normal God Builder for the most part. But I've prowled on long about this enough, so let's go into some gameplay about how to play Fenrir. So, to explain why I might go with Hide of the Urchin instead of something like Frost Hammer, basically look at the end game of the game that I played here. I mitigated almost as much damage as I took, because Fenrir, he is going to get hit. It's just how he is. You have to, if you don't want to get freaking Thanatos nuked every freaking life you go in, you're going to want to build Hide of the Urchin. Now, you could go total Smork Face if you wanted to. I'm not saying you can't, just I wouldn't recommend it unless you really know what you're doing. You have to build Fenrir to be able to take hits, because whenever he attacks, chances are, well, whoever is attacking him is going to hit him, and probably an enemy or two around him is going to hit him also. You just have to be careful with Fenrir, so building Hide of the Urchin, it's really easy to get those 10 stacks. It's just how I think is the best way to play him. You gotta be able to take some hits, and Hide of the Urchin does a fantastic job of that. And to get on with the rest of the gameplay though, Fenrir is he's very strong early and mid game. I think this is how he scales, is that he's a lot of early and mid game, but late game his effectiveness I think does wear down a little bit, but he still can definitely take out. He's just not nuking mages from half of their health. It's more like a third. He's still effective, you just have to be a little bit more careful. And he can also take a lot more damage, obviously, from other enemies, mages and whatnot, building that damage, so you want to be a little bit more careful. But mid-game, Fenrir is a freaking beast. His ult hits hard. He can take enemies back to your base, which I unfortunately don't have footage of. And you just basically pull them back to your tower or as close to the base as you can. Just hit them with your Brutalize or a few auto attacks, and that should finish most enemies off. In late game, you just gotta be careful. Enemies are hitting harder. You have Hide of the Urchin, but it's only one item with 10 stacks, so you still gotta be a little bit careful so you don't get freaking blasted and CC locked. But typically, he's your normal assassin. Just wait until your tanks engage, the 2 tanks engage, and pick off whoever is running or who's the weakest. Basically, just leap in with your max runes, Brutalize. You can Seething Howl if you want, but I honestly don't use it too much, because Brutalize usually takes care of most enemies, and then I can either curse to escape, or usually I can run away or leap if I have to, because just get that cooldown halved. But Fenrir, he's rated average, but if you know how to build him right, with the more of a bulkier build, I definitely think you can have a lot of success with him. With I went like 10-2 in this game. Since I rebuilt him like this, I think I've went negative once. I think I went like 6-5, or no, 5-6, like one game. But this is definitely a build to go with, and I forgot how much I love Fenrir. He's probably my second favorite god behind Loki. So thanks for watching, and I hope we see some more Fenrirs out there, because I just don't see too many nowadays. And also, thank you Astro for the better headset.